So why is the imagery of Satan around more than what I've been accustomed in the last few decades, actually? I'm going to be looking at this from the American culture. In Canada, it's not really the same thing. It's multi-culti, forcibly multi-culti. And there's force and then there's the organic. So it's two different things. At least in America, even though the nuns category is going up, I still think there is a good handful of individuals that identify as Christian. The difference is what's just religious and what is just cultural. I think there's going to be more and more individuals that gravitate toward more of the cultural side. You take Satan out of that, there's really not much substance to it. The same thing like Quebec. You take away the French, what are you left with? Not very much. So it's just part and parcel of the culture that you are going to see that satanic imagery. And it's pervasive. It doesn't mean, I don't see it as a bad thing, to be quite honest. When you listen to metal music and whatever the fuck, you get the point, you get desensitized by it. There's no reason to fear such an image. Especially if you're like, again, pretty much used to it. So it's one and the same, I find. But I am of the opinion that the devil, as we understand, superstition behind the devil is more of a man-made imagery than it is a biblical one. And the other thing that I think is kind of, that highlights this very well, is when Anton LaVey wrote in the Satanic Bible, and this is like the last key idea, Satan and the church have been best friends as the devil has kept them in business after all these years. So I have to agree with that. I really do. You definitely see that when it comes to pop culture. You definitely see that in the music. It's not really a shock. It shouldn't be a shock when a guy like Sam Smith walks out like he's coming out of a fucking like a Halloween orgy and shit. Like, really, who cares? How's that any different than what Blackie Lawless did in the fucking 80s and what Alice Cooper did in the 70s and Gene Simmons was spitting the blood and breathing fire? It's not that much different. The other thing I think that is kind of interesting is more of a generational thing. Kind of hard to get rid of that type of imagery, especially if it's something that is in the fucking zeitgeist for prolonged periods of time. It's kind of hard to eviscerate such a thing. It's just going to be manifested a little bit differently, more or less taking on the same characteristics. It's like that trope. It's usually going to change. The same idea, kind of like vampires, werewolf, witches, all those sort of things. And I think the third one is just preference. A lot of people like that type of imagery. I know I do. But on a very deep level, on a deep fucking level, there are some people that gravitate towards that. You would have to ask some of these people, does it mean that these individuals are evil? I would just gotta clarify that the devil is something else, Satan is something else, and Lucifer is something else as well. These are not all the same, although they do overlap with the idea of an adversary. It speaks something very deep and primal within individuals. That's why you're seeing a rise in individuals, people that gravitate towards Satanism. Again, you'd have to talk to these people. But in terms of evil, it knows no religion. It only knows the human race. That's what it is. One is not more evil than the other. It's human beings that are fucked up. At the very least, you gotta look at that darkness. You need to. You can't be all love and light, as I stated the last time. You need darkness. You have that out of nature, you have that within yourself. And that is part of the adversary. Peace out.